In the quiet corners of our everyday life, mysteries often lurk unseen. There's something unsettling about a child's laughter echoing through an empty house, especially when it leads you to places you never knew existed. Today, we venture into a story where every tick of the clock and every creaking floorboard weave a story that might just make you rethink your next babysitting gig. This is an unexpected twist in a seemingly ordinary evening. The first time I babysat these two little girls, everything went perfectly smooth. So when I was called for a second time, I confidently agreed. Their townhouse was located in a part of the town that people often whispered about, but not in a good way. However, during the daytime with children laughing and playing, it always felt as inviting as any other home. It was a warm evening with that sort of soft warmth that makes the transition from day to night almost seamless. The townhouse itself stood proudly among its peers, trying its best to shine despite the evident wear and tear of time and neglect from the neighborhood. Upon entering, one would be greeted by a modest living room. This was the epicenter of the home, where memories were made and stories were shared. The plush sofa, which I had now become familiar with, beckoned invitingly. Its cushions had witnessed countless family movie nights, and now it was to be my bed for the evening. Opposite this sofa was the TV, an old model that required a good smack now and then to get a clear picture. Then there were the two doors. The one leading to the backyard was made of wood and glass panes, offering a view of the garden beyond. The front door, located right across, was sturdy and painted a fading shade of blue. Its peephole, scratched from years of use, was a portal to the world outside. An interesting feature of the home was the stairwell to the left, which would be completely obscured if the front door was left wide open. To the right, the kitchen lay waiting. This was the heart of the home, an old-fashioned wall-mounted telephone. Its cord, twisted in knots from years of use, hung beside the fridge. It was a relic from another era, but essential to this story. The two girls, Lily and Rosie, were everything you'd expect from children their age. Lily, the older one, at 7, had a curious nature and always had questions about everything. Rosie, a spirited 5-year-old, was the mischievous one, always up to some playful trick or another. That evening, the girls and I had made a pact. We would have the most fun night ever. Little did I know, the evening would hold so much more than just innocent games and bedtime stories. After a joy-filled evening of board games, crafting makeshift forts from blankets and sharing bowls of buttery popcorn, the girls and I were ready to wind down. Lily and Rosie, in their matching pink pajamas, brushed their teeth and were eager for a bedtime story. I spun a tale of brave princesses and dragons, ensuring to make the heroines of the story strikingly similar to the two young listeners. Their eyelids grew heavy, and before long, the comforting rhythm of their soft breathing filled the room. Kissing their foreheads, I tiptoed out, leaving the bedroom door ajar just enough to let the hallway light creep in, acting as a makeshift nightlight. Ensuring they were safe and sound, I descended the stairs and was met with the quiet hum of the townhouse. Settling down on the familiar plush sofa, I grabbed a book from the coffee table. As hours went by, my eyelids grew heavy, the book's words blurred, and soon I was drifting into a peaceful slumber. But tranquility would be short-lived. A sudden noise snapped me back to consciousness. Disorientated, I blinked, trying to adjust to the dim lighting. There, silhouetted against the back door's glass panes, was the figure of a man. His movements were erratic, a clear indication of his inebriated state. Fear gripped me instantly. Thoughts raced through my mind. The safety of the girls, the old telephone in the kitchen, the distance between me and both exits of the house. His disheveled hair, ragged clothes, and the unsteady swaying were the telltale signs of a night spent indulging in too much alcohol. And as he stepped into the soft glow of the living room light, I could see the confusion in his bloodshot eyes. "Where's Sarah?" he slurred, his voice gravelly and deep. His gaze darted around, trying to make sense of his surroundings. My heart pounded in my chest. There was no Sarah here. Was it a case of mistaking identity? Perhaps he had wandered into the wrong house. Mustering as much courage as I could, I responded, "There's no Sarah here. You've got the wrong house." He didn't seem to hear or comprehend. Instead, he began to advance, his intentions unclear. "Gonna find Sarah," he murmured, taking another step and then another. Panic set in. I knew I couldn't let him get upstairs. The girls were vulnerable, and there was no telling what this intruder might do in his confused state. Then, a glimmer of hope. Through the thin curtain by the front door, the unmistakable shine of headlights illuminated the room. A car, possibly a way out or someone to help. As the man continued his slow advance, every fiber of my being screamed to protect the girls, to keep the stranger from making his way up those stairs. The intensity of the moment weighed heavily on me. My instincts took over. If I could divert his attention, even for a brief moment, I might have a chance to safeguard the children and myself. I swiftly put myself between him and the stairs, making sure to keep my voice as calm and steady as possible. "You're looking for Sarah, right?" "I think I saw her outside earlier," I said, gesturing towards the front door. His bloodshot eyes squinted in confusion, trying to process the information. "Outside?" he echoed, swaying slightly. "Yes, she was with Rosie and Trevor. They mentioned something about a cab. Maybe they're waiting for you?" I hoped, against all odds, that this fib would lead him to reconsider his steps. His gaze turned to the front door, the hint of headlights from the parked cab subtly playing into my deception. For a tense moment, time seemed to stand still. The room's atmosphere was thick with anticipation, the rhythmic ticking of the wall clock only accentuating the tension. Then, to my astonishment, he took the bait. He slowly began gravitating towards the door, his steps uncertain but deliberate. I seized the opportunity, inching closer to the door, ready to spring into action at the slightest sign of resistance. Every step he took was echoed by my silent prayers. Just a little further, I thought. Just a few more steps. As he neared the door, the noise from the outside grew more prominent. The gentle hum of a car's engine, the distant chatter of nighttime creatures, and the soft rustling of leaves played like an orchestrated symphony, leading him towards the exit. Finally, as he stood on the threshold, I exclaimed, "Look, there they are. Can you see Rosie waving at you?" I pointed towards the cab, using every ounce of persuasion in my voice. He hesitated, scanning the surroundings, his focus now entirely outside. His gaze settled on the taxi. Whether he truly saw figures in the dim light or my deception had simply clouded his judgment, I'll never know. But without a word, he stepped out, seemingly accepting the scenario I painted. Breathing a sigh of relief, I wasted no time. The moment he was clear, I slammed the door shut, locking it with shaking hands. The realization of what I had just managed to do was overwhelming. A mix of relief, fear, and triumph surged through me. But this was no time to let my guard down. I needed to ensure that the back door was locked to prevent any possibility of him returning. As I darted to the back door, ensuring its lock, I couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. My quick thinking had potentially saved us from an unknown danger. With the immediate threat seemingly neutralized, my heart rate began to stabilize. But a raw urgency pulsed through me. I could hear the distant sound of the cab driving off. Was he in it? Or had he decided to return, fueled by anger or confusion? I couldn't take any chances. Hurrying into the kitchen, I scoured the drawers, searching for anything that could be used as a makeshift barricade. There, a stack of dining chairs caught my eye. One by one, I began placing them against the front and back doors, creating a layered barrier. It wasn't much, but it would at least slow him down if he decided to come back. The realization that I was responsible for 2 other lives in the house was daunting. Slipping up the stairs, I gently opened the door to the girls' room. The soft glow from the hallway spilled into the room, revealing their peaceful faces, undisturbed by the night's terrifying events. How I envied their innocence. Taking a moment, I decided to shift their beds further from the window, lessening any risk of harm should the intruder return with more sinister intentions. I also placed a few toys on the steps, creating a noisy obstacle should anyone try to ascend. Heading back to the living room, the antiquated landline on the kitchen counter beckoned. Though corded and limiting, it was a potential lifeline. Grabbing it, I dialed the local police station's number, my fingers trembling with each press. The voice that answered was calm and assuring. I quickly recounted the evening's events, the weight of my fear evident in my voice. They promised to send a patrol car to check the area. The reassurance in the officer's voice was like a warm blanket, wrapping around me and providing a semblance of comfort. While waiting, I gathered cushions and blankets, creating a makeshift bed on the floor, away from any windows or direct lines of sight from the entrance. It was there I decided to rest, always alert, always listening. Hours felt like days. The townhouse's familiar sounds, the creaks, the distant sounds of the neighborhood, the ticking clock, all seemed amplified, each one sending a jolt of alertness through me. As dawn's first light began to break, its golden hues casting away the shadows of the night, there was a gentle knock at the door. Treading carefully, I peeked through the peephole. 2 police officers stood outside, their presence a welcome sight. Unlocking the door and removing my makeshift barricades, I greeted them, relief evident in my voice. They explained they patrolled the area and found no signs of the intruder. However, they'd keep an eye out and recommend I inform the girl's parents about the incident. The morning sun continued its ascent, casting away the remnants of the night's horrors. As the world outside awoke, so did Lily and Rosie, blissfully unaware of the close call. They greeted me with bright smiles and tales of their dreams, their innocence untouched. When their mother returned, I recounted the ordeal, emphasizing how everything was okay now. She hugged her daughter close, tears in her eyes, and thanked me profusely. No amount of money could compensate for the safety of her children. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that'll keep you up at night.